We live in such a beautiful world. Don't we, Bo?
As a free human being, you have the right to define what values you take upon yourself. But if you decide to forfeit some of the more important values, the essential values, then you put yourself in harm's way. This is Jack. He thinks he's just being selective with who his friends are and how he spends his time. He thinks that once he escapes his current circumstance, once he becomes surrounded by a community of successful and like-minded individuals, then he will open up.
NANI?!
Hello, Jack. Nice to meet you. I've seen the content you posted online, and we really do think you have an amazing talent. So we wanted to offer you a job. Sorry, I don't think I'll be able to take it. I'm a little preoccupied with schoolwork at the moment.
Well, lucky for you, we have a program specifically designed.
Nope. Sorry. I can't do it. I understand how hard it can be. I guess I'll be leaving then. Well, I hope you have a good afternoon. You too. He won't open up. It's a lie. And he knows it's a lie. The problem isn't other people not being good enough. It's him. He has no time. He doesn't like people. He doesn't like himself. Bogus excuses.
Well, any decision you make, I respect it. Just make sure it's a good one. This is Jack.
He thinks he's just being He won't open up. It's a lie. And he knows it's a lie. The problem isn't other people not being good enough. It's him. He has no time. He doesn't like people. He doesn't like himself. Bogus excuses.
Well, any decision you make, I respect it. Just make sure it's a good one.
Nice. And he acts like this towards everyone. Jack rejects everybody.
This pear-shaped individual is named Steven. Early 20s, out on his own, and he, like everyone, wants to do better for himself. At the moment, he has a pretty stable job, lives on his own, and actually wants to forge himself a better future. Same house, same car, same Steven, literally nothing has changed. He had the motivation, the grit, the self-confidence, and the savings fund to back up a decision he would have made, but he never made any decision because of some preventable problem. Steven was ignorant. He tried, but he and the people he associated with just didn't know how to help him. And that could be blamed onto a lot of things. The school system, his parents, just random distractions. But I don't think that's the core of the issue. It's about speed! And I know it's kinda obvious, but the cure to ignorance is information. What's really not so obvious is how people obtain that information. And that's what I hope to provide you in this video. And because that process is a set of self-questions, I also ask you to take out something you can write on so you can participate. And if not for yourself, then maybe for some of the other people watching this video. because your answers could always help them figure themselves out. And please, remember to be honest with yourself. Okay, let's begin. Number 1, ask the question. What ignorance are you personally willing to learn about? And for some people, it's, I want to figure out what to do in life. And for Steven, that question would be, how do I destroy capitalism?
What the fuck?
How do I find God? Finding a career that I will love for all of eternity.
Expectations too high.
How do I find employment?
Sorry, not specific enough.
Fine. Finding employment that'll be better for me in the long term.
You got it.
Okay, for the people participating, you can pause the video now to answer the questions for yourself. And also, feel free to skip any of the steps if you feel they are sufficiently redundant to what you're trying to fix. Also, let me just, Number 2, set up boundaries and give assumptions. First off, if you want to fix ignorance fast and efficiently, you're going to need to set up some boundaries. Because even though taking every learning opportunity seems like a good decision on the surface, when you do that, you're not adding more to what you're learning. You're taking away the time you have from what your actual aim is. At least if you try to do them both at the same time. Distractions are just the temptation that kills focus. So when you notice one, write it down and make it your job to avoid it. Or if that learning opportunity is really something special, just avoid it until sometime later in the future. And those questions would be, what tempting opportunities do I want to avoid? And what opportunities should I avoid until a later date? By the way, this is one of the most important steps for me personally, because I want to do everything I can. I want to make videos, design games, create apps, but if I tried to do all of them, none of them would go anywhere. So, I pushed them all to a later date so I can focus on this one goal: videos. And lastly, I strongly suggest you make at least some assumptions in what ignorance you're trying to fix, because those assumptions are what you're going to try and challenge. And when you finish all of this, you can look back to see whether or not your assumption was right, whether it could use some fixing, or if it should be removed entirely and replaced with something better. As a question, that would be, what do you assume is or could be the case about what I'm ignorant about?
Number 15, Burger King foot lettuce. The last thing you'd want in your Burger King burger is someone's foot fungus, but as it turns out, that might be what you get.
Number 3, investigate. Step 1 of the investigation is to find your sources. What are your sources? And they could be A, saved on the Internet Archives online. You got scholargoogle.com for science and legality. You got Wikipedia, Healthline. You just have so many sources for high quality information. And they can also be in the form of B, people who you can learn about and ask questions to, and that means people online through places like Discord, and sometimes in real life with actual meetups and conferences. And sometimes it can be through C, mimicking someone else's knowledge, like for instance how I sometimes take visual ideas from some of my favorite YouTubers, or even by D, conducting some form of an experiment. Step 2 of part 3 is to figure out the cost of accessing these resources. What is the cost of the information? Meaning, how much time it'll take, how much dedication and consistency you would need, how uncomfortable it would make you feel, and how much money it'll cost. And then step 3 of step 3, make the purchase if you feel like it's a good decision. And once you find what you're looking for. Number 4, write out your findings. What did you learn? And I say to write out your findings because even if you do discover something mind-blowing, there's still a chance your brain will delete that memory. So I believe it's better to try and rely on physical things to record memories rather than your own mind. And if you think the information you found is interesting enough, or maybe even useful enough. Number 5, share your findings. I want to be a part of a learning community where people actually want to share knowledge and love to learn. To my knowledge, that community does not exist at the moment. So I've decided I want to start my own. And I want you, the viewer, to be a part of it. So I want you to publish your answers to the server so we can all learn together. And just to make it a little simpler, here's a list of the entire video broken down into pieces and questions. What ignorance do you want to tackle? What opportunities do you want to avoid or avoid till later? What do you think might be the case about what you're ignorant about? What are your sources? What is the cost of the information? What did you learn, and should you share it? Okay, that's the end of the video. Success in all walks of life requires dedication. But dedication doesn't always have to come from absolute willpower. All you really have to do is be open to the opportunity, to be curious. So stay curious. Also, don't forget to post your findings in the comment section or in the Discord link I'm putting right here, and also in the comment section. Adios, my people. Goodbye. There is a beast that roams these forests. Human, but unlike any man you've ever seen. Body as tall as the oak's, eyes as black as cinder. It's starved, and it hungers for only one thing. Human. Shit. It all started 13 years ago when a mysterious letter appeared at the door of Zacharias Hitchens. It said, "Eat shit." And he knew this was something he could simply not ignore. It was a testament, one of biblical proportions. And there he went to go fulfill his duty. And give or take 5 or more days, there was not a single poo left in that town. And he started getting extreme. 5 days after that, every single toilet went missing. And then after that, everyone went missing. Like they were all locked in some sick underground extraction chamber. Like animals. But there was one person who survived and was able to tell the story of the Pupendigo, to get someone to help find the people that went missing. Sadly for him, he was never believed. They called him crazy, delusional. Said that the town had been abandoned for years prior to his arrival. And then one day, he too went missing. But I've been thinking about something while I've been telling this story. You do look a lot like him. Were you in the underground chambers? Do you remember me? You don't remember? God, I'm honestly surprised you haven't caught on yet. You're the reason why I started this. I still have that letter you left at my door. Really? Nothing? Just, wow. My feelings are a little hurt, but I suppose now is a better time than any to jog your memory.
Let's hope you did enjoy.
Coffee. Chances are you've seen the YouTube videos about how coffee works. So today, we're not going to talk about how it works. We're going to talk about how you can use it to best benefit you. And that means knowing about all the downsides, the workarounds, and the other weird ways people have maximized coffee for themselves. People use coffee because it does things for them. For most, because it wakes them up, but also because in some, it makes them feel good, motivated, or even calm down. The biggest downside for coffee is that because the effects vary widely from person to person, the effects may not actually apply to you. Some people get all of these effects, some people only get some of the effects, and some people even get reverse effects. So, with this video, you should always just try to keep your personal experiences in mind with the information. Now, with that being said, okay, now for the second downside. You can very easily cure your sleep with coffee by drinking too much, drinking at the wrong time, and especially by drinking it to ignore actual tiredness. If you shortchange your sleep with coffee, you're going to experience some pretty negative consequences for your mind. A lack of focus, a lack of energy, etc. That's the reverse of what a nootropic is supposed to do. So to work around coffee insomnia, you just have to be aware of how much you consume and when. That's all you really have to know to get around this downside. And for the third one, if you eat food that messes up your mind, never exercise, and have a broken sleep schedule, your brain is not going to function as well as it could. Chances are, you're going to be tired, sick, and, the works. But coffee being the savior it is, can actually block out those symptoms. With things like exercising, eating right, and sleeping right being as hard as they are, coffee can become a very convincing reason to not do any of those things. And to use coffee in that way would be sort of like using painkillers without trying to solve the underlying problem. And now for the last and final downside. It's all about the idea of tolerance. And when you build tolerance, you'll need more coffee to get the same effect, your energy levels will crash faster, and you'll become dependent on coffee to feel energized. So, in order to save money, maximize the effectiveness of coffee, diminish the effects of coffee insomnia, and reset your tolerance levels, just not using it on the days when you don't need it, like on weekends. Number 2, cycling on and off, even going off for 2 days of the week is enough. And number 3, eating before drinking it. Because a slow and steady stream of caffeine makes your body overreact way less than if it was a shot. And well, there's my time for the week. This was my first dream school lesson, and my first video ever in dreams. It took me a lot of time and a lot of hard work, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any feedback or maybe even like to collaborate, just leave a response. I'd be truly happy to respond. The next video is coming out next week, so hope to see you then. Always be better. Never stop learning.
As a free human being, you have the right to define what values you take upon yourself. But if you decide to forfeit some of the more important values, the essential values, then you put yourself in harm's way. This is Jack.
Nope, this door won't budge until I found enough crystals to open it. Ooh. Ooh.
Operator, that's a run-out build tool. Would you like a galactic fizz? Would you like an excellent? Look thirsty, operator. Operator, you know what they say? Diet is a right. Have a drink or a house. Or a ship. Operator, forgive my curiosity, but why do the people of Earth call you Elise? It fits you. But why?